your timetable and it's been allocated for question and answer session. So we have to make it rather discussion of open discussion. So there are those who have taken part in the last year session, so they fairly knows what is the kind of question and answer we do, what is the kind of discussions we are going to do. So those who are familiar to this or new, I cordially invite, if you have any suitable question or any topic feel suitable to discuss related to our meditation program, please you may come out with such questions and topics.
Question now, when you do the walking meditation, now you concentrate on the sensation of the whole foot, so foot by foot you walk around, so it's a process that's a lot of sensations come through the process, so you can kind of, on my feeling, I kind of get into that, and it's I could concentrate on that time, but when you do the sitting meditation, it's very hard to keep the mind focused. So it's going away. Of course, we don't realize when it goes away, but if it goes away too much, it's how do you keep focus on the sitting meditation, especially? So do you need to do some loving kind meditation with that, or something? How do you keep the concentration?
So is the question clear for everyone? Yeah, that it's a kind of a pragmatic question. Usually come out with new meditators, because our mind is so unruly. It is jumping from one object to the others. Unless otherwise we assign good task, good dramatic thing, good eventful thing, it can be keep busy. Otherwise, often mind find its own interest and jump away from the subject what we are suggesting. In that respect, the day-to-day activities, we don't feel the day is passing and running because we are so busy. Early morning we get so much of assignments, and at the end of the day we don't know how we spend it. But even if you're mindful, if you develop kind of a mindfulness in day-to-day activities, you find time is passing very quickly without much of a hitch. But when you go into do walking meditation, whatever the sensation, you can have a kind of a memory, you can account for. This is what the right leg, this is what the left leg, and this is what the surface of the earth, and this is what the surface of my soul, kind of thing. It happens. When you sit, what happens is our eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue goes without any job. These are the 4 main openings out of 6 openings, that is to say body and the mind. The eye, ear, the nose and the tongue keep ourselves busy, the mind busy. So therefore, in order to, first of all, to diagnose, to understand the situation, in the intensive meditation we are supposed to keep these faculties closed as much as possible. Close your eyes, go to a silent place, don't entertain smells, good or bad, or don't entertain tasting or talking. And when it is closed, only the bodily sensation, tactile sensations are the only thing, and mind has to be focused upon, but it is not nutritious, it is not dramatic, it is not attractive. So therefore, mind find it as a task force. It never take interest in only observing the bodily posture or bodily sensation and weight is not enough. So therefore, it start fantasizing. Start daydreaming. It starts yesterday, tomorrow, and all the kind of thing. Or otherwise, even a small little sound happens, the mind take interest about that. Or any little pains comes, all become, even though it is bearable, irritating. Like, so they are hard, very difficult you find to keep the track with the in technical terms, dwelling on contemplation on the body, on body. That is okay. Kayanupassiviyarati. If you are to keep the concentration or the contemplation on your body, it's very difficult because it is not much dramatic. It is appear boring. It is appear monotonous. It appear not much interesting. So this is one of the very good, though when you are raising the question it appears like a complaint, but it's unavoidable the evidence or experience or diagnosis. So this is good. That is why when the particular person raised the question, you can understand walking the mind, meditative mind is enough to keep busy. But if you are keeping on the bodily sensation, not. So therefore, you have to understand, as far as we keep the mind busy, it makes no much of trouble. But as far as we give little bit of restrainment, little bit of organizing, it find it always, its own ways. So that means if you are living such a way of life for longer, more and more, you will understand we are burning the candle from both the ends. If you keep it only 1 week, it lasting long, but if you are going to burn the candle both the ends, it is just utter wastage. So some may come out and say, what is the advantage of keeping the body, keeping the attention only in the body, and why not entertain the life? Why not go for the indulgence of the senses, indulgence of the being, and so only both of them are under control, and if you are consciously deciding to go to the sensuous pleasure, no problem. But this is the only time you can understand whenever, even if you wish to keep the attention only with the body, mind is unruly. It is not yielding, it is not ready to take, then only you understand mind working, yes, but what agenda? Who is fixing the agenda? That is the point you understand. Even once you give a neutral kind of agenda only, you can understand how it is unruly. So therefore, don't take it as a personal mistake or a disadvantage or something wrong with. It's the nature. Instead, you can understand comparatively in walking, as the question comes, raised, you can feel the sensation then and there. You are very nose, they are not imagination. They are really, you understand, under the nose. And when you come and sit, close your eyes, go to a silent place, instead of the experience of just being, or instead of your experience of in-breath and out-breath, or rising and falling, what are the things naturally comes into? For an example, am I thinking? Am I distracted by outside sounds? Or bodily pains? So if I am to raise a question on the in return, what are the basic secondary objects or distractions you have in sitting in the so-called unsuccessful sitting? Thinking?
Thinking, yes.
So
I don't have body, but it's already good.
Thinking. So this, I would say it in a positive way. If you are to keep on practicing without getting disheartened, this is how you understand who am I. Your character trait, or character deficit, or your personality. When the mind kept completely open, where naturally it tends to go? To thinking, to listening and get discouraged with that external distractions of sounds or bodily pains. Accordingly, there are 3 character types. Some says, soon they sit, they start bodily pain. They say, I don't mind thinking, I don't mind sounds, but only irritation is thinking. bodily pain. Some may say even the click of the clock I can't tolerate because sounds are irritating. Some others come and say the thinking, daydreaming, fantasizing, this is. So that if you observe it patiently, continuously, you will reconfirm, am I really a kind of a thinking person? It's called vitakka charita in Pali. So you have to reconfirm it, because this is the only possible way you to understand who am I. There are no other machines, no formulas, not a second person can tell you you are such a person. So once you keep the mind in the neutral object, and you can understand instead of the neutral object, what is the natural tendency, where it is going, often to the thinking or to the pains or sounds. So don't develop any negative feeling towards the thinking as a distraction. It is as a negative. You have to just say, yes, when and where I keep the mind in the neutral object, it goes to thinking. Again, you bring it back to the, as a beginner, you bring it back to the breathing. For example, if you take a breath, in breath and out breath as the object of meditation, again you have to see whether it is going to the same, again and again to the thinking, or occasionally for the sounds, occasionally for pains and kind of thing. So when you keep on doing, only the slight change in the attitude, that is, you are observing the thought in a diagnostic manner, not to get rid of. You don't think it is as a distraction. You don't think as it's a negative element. You reconfirm. And then that itself make the thinking less and less powerful. That means you are less and less reacting to the thinking. You accept it. Even without the meditation, that is what happens. And there are no problem. But when you take it this time, 1 hour as a meditation exercise, then only it becomes a problem. So don't make it as a problem, make it as a point to diagnose who am I. And if you closely observe, you will see sometimes the morning hours, tendency is such. In the midday is such. At the end of the day, so likewise there are some changes. And climate, according to the seasonal differences, according to the type of food you take, according to the type of association you have, these things are changing. So you are accumulating huge amount of information, which compared to the worldly knowledge, this information is always introvert, always teaching you who are you, who am I. So therefore all the other knowledges we can say extrovert, worldly knowledge. This is the only knowledge, even with the primary object, breathing or distraction, you come to know who am I. For that you have to be very patient and accumulate as much as information. More and more information come, situation become more and more under your control. Otherwise you don't know what is the picture, what is the liking, what are the liking and disliking, what are the character traits, what kind of a personality am I. So therefore just keep on practice. Don't lose without losing your heart to get information in a productive way, in a diagnostic way. And experienced yogis will come to know, they will agree with me, if you are to confine your attention only to the in-breath and out-breath, or to the rising and falling, again you will cut through into a situation where no any other sensation will be taken to the so much of isolation, so much of free from the senses. So there you feel fearful, you feel bored, you feel monotonous, and because that we have so much of fear for the unknown. We have so much of fear for the liberation. So from walking to sitting is a gross example. If you are successful in sitting, ultimately you cut through into the deep layers of your consciousness, and you will be more and more cut off from the seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, and even you will lose even the breath. Not that losing the breath, you are go deep into the breath. So more and more challengeful it becomes, but it is very very scientific. You are going the deeper layers of your own consciousness. So therefore, these three methods, day-to-day activities, walking and sitting, itself is a range. All can't entertain all the three equally. Some people have, according to their vibrations, starting point. Some start with the day-to-day activities, some start basically with the walking, and some directly can start with sitting meditation also.
Does it apply to feeling sleepy?
Pardon me?
Does it apply to feeling sleepy?
The other side is that it's the other part of the question. When you sleep, when you try sit, try to bring the attention to the primary object. It's a neutral one. Either daydreaming, fantasizing, thinking and doubting. That is the over-excitement, other side of the sleepiness. These are the two extremes. Middle path is lying in between. So at a time you may say, my mind is churning, agitated and daydreaming, fantasizing, thinking, excitement, all the kind of thing. And where sometimes the object becomes very clear. In meditation jargon we say object becomes face to face. Breath, in-breath and out becomes face to face. And when it is going to a kind of monotonous way, mind escape to the sleepiness. It's a drowsiness. And these two, I can't say this is better and this is good and this is bad. These are possibilities. Sometimes it becomes over-agitated or sometimes become over-slimy and sloth and torpor and coming. So, by practicing trial and error only, one day you will come to know how to assimilate the middle path, how to bring the energy, how to bring the concentration in a balance, how to bring the faith and the wisdom into a balance, how to keep the mindfulness in forefront. And just like you are trying to learn a push bike, at the beginning very difficult to balance it. So after you gain a certain speed, velocity, then you find it's easy. But the beginner always finding it difficult to get the cycle balanced and to gain a kind of a confidence and the velocity. So therefore, most important part, most challenging or critical part of our whole life is this changeover from the our day-to-day life to this kind of a spiritual training. The beginner part of the how to keep our mind only with one single object and how to gain certain amount of concentration. After gaining certain amount of it is very versatile, you can put it to any way. But the beginning part is difficult, so therefore you have to be very patient. And not only that, if you are trying to help someone, you have to be very sympathetic, because our mind is a monkey mind, always asking different varietal entertainment. Whenever you try to keep it on one only, you will understand how unruly, how it runs without any agenda. So if you are going to react, situation will be much aggravated. To sympathize, do again and again. Be aware whenever it is become agitated and aggravated with thinking or go into sleepiness. Both of them are indicating you are associating the extremes. So the question is how to bring it back to the middle.
Mindfulness help in your negative thoughts like anger and greed and sorrow?
Of course, mindfulness don't assure you it will give a productive and positive answer for these negative thoughts. Because mindfulness is in a way defined as choiceless awareness. Mindfulness is the only state of mind or mental factor right from the beginning. Never worry about the good and the bad. Never worry about the just and unjust. Never worry about the correct and wrong. It just be aware. But even if we try to keep the mindfulness the upper hand and try to keep the mindfulness while in breath and out breath, while in walking left and the right and doing our day-to-day activities, our judging mind is always behind playing hell. So there you can understand, intentionally you try to keep the mind neutral, that some people put it like that, evenly suspended attention to the good and the bad, evenly suspended attention to the correct and wrong, evenly suspended attention to the good emotions and the bad emotions. So this is what we are trying to do. But our perception, our rut, the judging mind is always reacting to the negative and try to get it out. And always chasing behind and craving for the good emotions and the pleasure to come. So therefore it is always creating a frustration, always creating a mental tension, and in total end up with disappointments. That is why we try to give an alternative, that non-judgmental, non-reactive, choiceless kind of a state. That's a mindfulness. But even though theoretically it appears like a mindfulness is not worrying about this negative emotions kind of thing, what happens is, when you keep on meditating, as I mentioned in his question also, the thoughts are coming, but you are just observe them in a diagnostic point of view. You are not trying to get rid of them. And you keep on doing. When the thought comes, this time also reconfirm. Yes, this time also my distraction was the thought. I have to give up my breathing in and out. Instead, I am taken for a ride by thought. And anyway, you are not much worried. Again, as a beginner, you try to reinstall the in-breath and out-breath, or mindfulness on the in-breath and out. Again, few thoughts or few cycles time, you fall. In his case, thinking. In this question, negative emotions. And again you take another note, okay, for the second time, my mindfulness was toppled due to this. But without tiring, without reaction, you again reinstall it. And again it falls. And then and more you go there, naturally what happens is your negativity or your reaction to the emotion or the thoughts become faded off. Then you can understand that your very negative thought, as if you are an outsider. You can see it as an alien to you, it is happening, and you are just observing. You are not worrying about, you are not taking some kind of a defeated kind of mentality. You say, this is what it happens. This is the reality. These are the things as they are. But more and more you understand the negative feelings are negative feelings. I mean, within non-reactional mind, its influence, its impact is greatly reducing. It can't take you for a ride. Not only the negative or hatred or kind of, or even the desire or lust or kind of thing, but the beginner disadvantages, because he usually note them when the emotion is very fairly strong and grown up. But when you keep on practicing, you can understand these emotions never come at that gross level. They are starting at the very mild level, and slowly due to our negligence they grow. And we are delayed to understand. That is why it takes the upper hand. Keep on practicing, you can understand while they are developing. How the emotions, how the negative emotion get the seed and germinated and grow up to that level. Now flowering and fruiting happens. More keep on practicing, you understand this negative emotion is never attributable to outsider or outside cause. It's 100% within you. Only it takes the upper hand because you are negligent. You are delayed. So earlier the better. If you can nip it at the bud level, easier. But the beginner is not mature enough to take such advantages, but he can see, he can foresee, keep on practicing without a reaction, you are going to expose to the whole range, the minor or not much of an immature, less potent emotions, how it grow, how it become mature and go beyond the control line. So therefore, do not at the first place, at the bottom line, do not try to get rid of that bad things. By that way, invariably you are fertilizing it. Only thing is you have to map it out to see how it grows. What are the nutriments? What are the seeds? And ultimately you find everything is yours. But otherwise people say, I got angry because he is wrong. I got the desire because she is beautiful. And ultimately when you keep on practicing, and that is why I am telling at the early part, yes, that is the way we are being taught and we are being thinking, but keep on practicing, you understand everything has their potential, but due to our negligence only, this negative and positive kind of emotions come up to the uncontrollable level. So therefore, we are not going to deal such a high potential kind of thing. We try to keep the mind with the neutral object as much as possible, so that our mindfulness will be grown, and with that develop mindfulness only. And that is also in the meditation as a subject asked for the beginners. Always try to develop mindfulness with the materiality rather than mentality, such as thoughts, emotions, feelings, perceptions and mental formations, because it is a job of an expert. Early part of the meditation you try to keep the rubbing sensation of the air element, heat, cold, stiffness, tension, like something measurable. Once mindfulness develop, it naturally take the other complicated subjects, namely immaterial thing, mentality, and then you can understand how it is growing with leaps and bounds.
I would like to emphasize on the balance. I'm going back to the second question that we asked. Can you sort of give us an example how you strike a balance while you're meditating and thinking and sleeping and fantasizing, also daydreaming? How do you come to the balance? I mean, you can, like a monkey mind, you jump into one into the other and then come back to your breath. Are there any techniques that you can sort of use for?
To raise the question, you have to rephrase the question. You have to take two extremes. That is where the balance becomes practically valuable. What are the two extremes you wish to take as an example?
I would say when I'm meditating, I get into thinking. It's like I'm planning something or what happens. It's a thinking. So,
what is the compensation? So for the thinking, if I mention it's an agitated mind, overactivated mind, what is the other part you think good to balance it? What is the negative part or opposite of the thinking?
not thinking, sleeping.
Sleeping.
But I don't feel sleepy.
That is why I am telling that your question has to be rephrased. So balance comes if you are experiencing two extremes. Then only you have to assimilate the balance. Otherwise, that how to deal, as he mentioned, how to deal with negative emotions like hatred and kind of thing, or sleeping. So that is his question. Well, the first question is...
I want an example, practical example.
So I would put it this way. If you raise a question with an example, then I can deal with it.
Okay.
Then it will be at least applicable to yourself.
Okay. I was meditating and I'm thinking about my son. I'm going away from my meditative, concentrating on my breath. I'm thinking about my son, whether he will bring homework home or whether he will finish it without me. So how do I just have to come back to my breath to balance, or just forget about the thought and try to keep it come to the balance? How do I sort of, kind of dissolve that thought system?
Anyone who wish to give an answer from the audience for such a question? I mean, there are some people already experience this kind of thing and overcome, so it will be from another voice. I will put in the question in this way. In our life, there is no particular time for meditation. Our life is less than enough for our daily duties. So therefore hardly we get a time allocated for meditation. And to find a place, yet another difficulty. And find a good teacher, yet another difficulty. With all that, we come and sit. And what happens? Then all of a sudden the thinking happens and destroy everything without any hindrance. Okay, that is the question that we get this thing, and when we are at home we are thinking about the meditation center, good master and silence. When you come to the silence, good master center, we think about the home. This is the monkey mind. This is, I am telling that no agenda. Even if you give the maximum, mind won't there. So after such situation, under such circumstances, how to restrain it, or how to take it to the track? Anyone who wish to contribute?
What I do is that I kind of let it go a couple of minutes and try to find other thoughts to kind of balance it and then slowly come back to the breath, but it takes a long time.
This is, I think, no one is escaped. Everyone is in the same boat. So whenever hardly we get the time and come there, and mind will never stay on the, and therefore the commentators, they say, if you try to balance a watermelon on a running horse without a saddle, how to keep it? Soon you keep, it drops. When the horse back is such, watermelon is such. So therefore keeping our mind on an object for consecutively two thought moments is a miracle. It has no assurance. No assurance is the given factor. What we are trying to do is keep 2 thought moments, if possible, on the breath or on walking. And to get an encouragement, it is possible only for humans. In the other realms, it is completely impossibility. That such a training is not prescribed. But being human, knowing this value, even then we understand how succumb, how we are vulnerable to this kind of situation. So we are like animal without backbone. We can't stand still because we collapse. So this is the first and foremost result of meditation. You understand we have no soul. We can't control. We can't take things under control. Unless otherwise, you as a mother, you will say, I discipline my mother, my life, and got it on I have to discipline my children. They have to sit, they have to be silent, they have to do homework, all the kind of thing. But the mother come and sit, only mother itself knows, let alone the children doing the homework, mother can't do the meditation work itself. But you try to discipline your mother, your son. Now, such a game is in the world. Every ruler is talking about the ruling about their subject, but that particular culprit is unruly. Otherwise he can't be a ruler. So we parents, everything, and we teachers think about the disciples. Doctors think about the patients. Rulers decide about the subject. Parents are deciding, thinking about the children. But by that they are just escaping, I am telling you. They can't face the present moment. Instead they take their children And they say, I am not worrying about the bad thing, I am worrying about the good cause, my children. But yet I would say it's escaping. And doctors will say, I am not thinking about anything, I am thinking about my patients. But doctor is not here and now. Parents are not here and now. So this is, I am just taking example not to humiliate, not to disturb someone, just to see ourselves. So therefore thinking, whether it is on children or whether it is happening in the sitting meditation or walking, it is not a cult, it is not a crime. It is not a mistake of us ourselves, it's a nature. Therefore you have to understand what is the function of the primary object. For example, I will take we take the breath as the primary object, in breath and out breath. When and where there is no prominent object, take the primary object as the pivot. And if it's a effective, willful thinking happen, please don't worry about wrestling between the thought and the primary object. Take, this is the given subject, this is the given object, and be with it. Don't react. And if the pain is the main object, I mean throbbing one, coming and forcing, okay, because it is here and there, sure, and you try to try to understand the natural characteristic of the pain or sleepiness. Sleepiness is very difficult because it is taking you for a ride. And the thoughts, sounds, everything, when it happens, you have to take it to grant that whatever come along our way has a message. If you are going to avoid it, it is to say we are chasing away the messenger without reading the message. So that is why I would categorically and specifically say, not in other meditation, but in the mindfulness or insight meditation, you are training right from the beginning not to react. Just to be aware, be awareness with choice, without a choice. And evenly suspended attention, when and where there is nothing, I will take the refuge of the primary object. Otherwise, what is coming is more natural to me, more intrinsic to me, more personal to me, more present. So therefore, you just observe it. If that is the case, as I mentioned in the first question, you will come to know I am a person, whenever I get a chance, I become a thinker. Whenever I become free, I worry about the sounds. I have to worry about my pains. Likewise, we understand the characteristic. Unless otherwise you develop such attitudes towards what is coming, the oncoming phenomena, very difficult to be an insight yogi. That does not indicate you are disqualified. Maybe your character trait and others to the concentration type. As far as the concentration technique is concerned, if such unwanted thoughts are happening, you try to avoid it by contemplation of the virtues of the Buddha or virtues of Dhamma, the teaching, or the Sangha, or Metta Bhavana, loving kindness, or that kind of thing. But in Vipassana, both are available, both are valid. In Vipassana, what you do is let the thought itself come in full-fledged. And you are not worried, you are not disqualifying yourself, so what it is that I am entertaining thoughts. No. You let the thought happen and just see. Let it express its message.
So that's how you balance it, you just observe the thought.
I don't use the term balance there. I would say facing. You face the particular thing it is coming. Non-judgmental way. Suspended attention. And choiceless awareness. And let the thought to come, and later, if you are going to decide I am a kind of a person always thinking, then understand the pattern of thinking. Sometimes it is association with the past, and if it is so, the Buddha as well as all the philosophers say, as far as our thoughts associating with the past, it's ever a disappointment, regret. And as far as it is for the future projection, it's ever an excitement. And never it allow you to keep the mind in the present moment. So therefore there's a Pali phrase, it says, Atitanudhavanam chittam vikhopanupadittam samadhisya paripanto. when and where, this is applicable for the thinkers or kind of people associate more frequent thinking, when and where you associate the past, it is always end up with the regret, and it's a clear hindrance for your concentration. You can't keep the object of meditation in face to face. When and where the future projections happens, it always end up with this excitement, amusement, and there's an equal distraction for the concentration, so that you are not here and now. So this indicates that if you clearly know I am a thinker, upon that you know it I am almost associated in the past. If it is so, three factors comes in such a situation. You know I am a thinking, not in the primary object. Second thing you know, as usual, I am always associated in the past. And you can see the mental coloration, it is very disappointed, with regret. All these three indicates now you are off the track. And do not try to pull the primary object into that. You are just be aware whether the next thought also, next one also, the thought associated in the past, and is it also going to contribute the same precipitation of disappointment and the regret? If that is the goal, that is what you call Dhamma. It's a universal laws, it is not you. You are just witnessing what are the universal laws in the mind matters or mental aspects, that with the association past means the regret. Going to the future means excitement. And if you are associating an object and it is lovable, the lust or desire. And if it's hateful, the hatred comes. These are your laws. So of course if you really know the theory knowledge and be evenly suspended and non-reactive, unassuming way, you can understand his, her, everyone's have the same underlying principle. So you being a human, you associate and entertain experience according to your history. Unrevealing start. So therefore, if you have a past experience, good mindfulness, each and every difficult task going to give a very good revelation of Dhamma. But the beginners are asked not to go for, unless otherwise it comes and disturb you, not to go for the complexities, just to keep it with the materiality, something like going and coming air or touch of the ground. So when you are washing hands, feel the materiality. So that is how it has to go. I don't know whether I have directly answered your question. It is just an analysis.
What are the differences between the different types of meditation? You know, for example, you mentioned a couple types already, and some keep the mind narrowly focused, like concentration, but then they're from visualization that I've heard about the transcendental meditation. What are the differences between them, and what are they for?
So basically, to answer the question, I would say, from the Buddhist perspective, we have two types, concentration meditation and insight meditation. So concentration meditation is you take an external object and you try to focus upon that, concentrate, and you try to plunge into that, and you get anesthetized and cut off from your senses, other senses, and you go into that, you can hibernate within that. And it's a good, as if you wish to keep vegetables long time fresh, you put into the fridge and lock, finished. Likewise, if you wish to keep the body health and the kind of thing in a calm and quiet situation, of course it is not possible for everyone, but if you are successful, what happens is you can go into particular conventional object and be there, cut off from the world, and you can let the mind and body to rest. And with compared to that, mindfulness is you take an object which is experienceable, that means internal object, you try to see things as they are. It's intrinsic nature, it's a reality. So these are the two objective wise. And object of observation also, the concentration take conventional object, insight take something what is experienceable, that is your own part. And concentration meditation is necessary, and it's a tool for the inside meditation. If you get a good fair concentration, the seeing things as they are is a possible option. Without the inside meditation, the full realization is impossibility. Even though concentration raises you up to a certain level away from the day-to-day problems, it can't lead to the final. From there, you have to take the refuge of inside meditation, and then only you can see things as they are. So therefore, and the other one is time-wise, even the Buddha, or great enlightenment of the Buddha, the concentration meditation was fairly well developed. It was there in the contemporary time of the Buddha, and even before in India. And Buddha, before enlightenment, he went to the different teachers, he mastered everything, and even then he found, even though he can go to the different jhanic level and be long time concentrated and absorbed, the understanding things as they are yet to complete. So therefore, the Buddha's contribution to the humankind is based completely on insight part. But to go to insight, whether the concentration, certain level of concentration, how much the level, these are academic questions even now, even at the time of the Buddha also. How much concentration you should have before going to insight. At our age, in 1940s, 50s, one of the masters in Burma, he found that it's not necessary to have such a already developed concentration. With the day-to-day experience, you can start insight meditation. Then and there meditation, then and there concentration. That is called momentary concentration. Under such circumstances, mindfulness play a big role. Even in the pure concentration meditation, so mindfulness also benefactory. It's a good. But even the faith will give a good lead. Energy will give lead, so that concentration and wisdom can come. But in inside meditation, those who are not with so much of devotion and faith, non-Buddhist also can practice. Even if you have no much of energy, your mind is often go to the slimy and sleepy and kind of thing, even then, you have a hope, because as far as you know, my character is sleepy. Then mindfulness can go. And then mindfulness itself can take a very good lead in the inside meditation, and that is why Westerners, they say Buddhism came to America, Buddhism came to West. If it is growing only in the devotional kind of atmosphere, religious atmosphere, it will never fly to Western countries. So now Buddhism in Sri Lanka, like traditional countries also, replenished and reorganized after seeing how Westerners are putting that into the immediate result of the day-to-day life. And then traditional Buddhists also look it in a different way. So nowadays this communication, the rapport is going on. So therefore the inside meditation is rather get the results here and now. Not to wait for the next life or next Buddha to come. You can put it to here and now. Even at least at the acceptance level. So therefore the inside meditation, concentrated meditation, you must have a fair idea about, but whether it is, the list is endless. So much of criterions are there. If I am to add some more, concentration meditation dealing with the obsessional kind of defilements that others can't see, but I know. If a particular person knows my mind is now with the desire, my mind is now with hatred, my mind is now with sleepiness, or doubts, or bewildered mind, or scattered, but the other person may not know. Such a defilement we call obsessional. That is the main aim of concentration meditation. But the Buddha found there's yet another layer down there, in the dormant level. Latent tendencies. That cannot be tackled with concentration. This is only after concentration meditation remove the layer of obsessional defilements, only you see the perversions and this obsessional and the latent form. That is only possible with insight meditation. So if I am to add little more to this to make the answer complete, the 3 trainings Buddha accepted: training regarding the virtues, training regarding the concentration, and training regarding the insight wisdom. They are graded in 3 ways. So concentration, meditation and the vipassana, insight, both known as under the subject of meditation. And for the concentration, you must have completely forest atmosphere or completely meditation center atmosphere. But for the insight meditation, of course you start with here, but later you know how to do with the day-to-day activities also, and with that you can connect it to your normal day-to-day life. So insight meditation has the wider scope, but it demands heavy wisdom, proper understanding or correct view at the beginning, very slow, going against the grain.
But now that thinking problem that we have, now you said concentration meditation helps to go to inside meditation. So let's say as beginners, let's say we have 1 hour, so do you advise like do like 15 minutes or something before start inside meditation, do concentration meditation at the beginning, loving kindness meditation or something before starting inside meditation? Is that the kind of advice?
That's a kind of advice, but anything won't do. For thinking, the Buddha mentioned anapanasati, in-breath and out-breath is the remedy. If you do loving kindness, once you recognize you are a hateful kind of a character, then you have to antidote is the loving kindness. If you have the lust and the desire, you have to develop the loathsomeness of the food, the life, the body and kind of thing. If you have sleepiness, you have to develop either Buddhanusati or Marananusati. Whenever you think about contemplation of your death, sleepiness won't come. So likewise, these 4 guardian meditations are 4 medicines for 4 diseases. So each one is not for helping others, they have technical related, or otherwise these medicines are prescription drugs, not the over-the-counter type. So therefore, by practicing only you come to know what is the disease you have, then theoretically select exactly the effective remedy. So therefore, generally you can't say just doing concentration meditation is helpful to the vipassana. Once you put to a generic subject like in-breath and out-breath, you first and foremost you have to reconfirm what character type am I. Once that is there, easily you can, through the books or learned person can understand what is the antidote. If that is the case, you are more towards the success. Efficiency is high. So therefore, at the beginning, if you know such a thing, better to practice kind of a guardian meditation, so that your basic thing will be tackled, and then you can go to the primary object. But Anapanasati Bhavana, specifically on the concentration on the in-breath and out-breath, the Buddha found it's a huge range covering. It's covering vast area. Something like the functionally sometimes is equal to Metta Bhavana. Functionally it is sometimes equal to Buddhanusati Bhavana, recollection of the virtues of the Buddha. Therefore, you must not rush quickly to give up Anapanasati and go into the remedies. Just keep on practicing to reconsolidate, re-recognize the character type. Who am I? And then by the time Anapanasati itself will be the remedy also. It is at the beginning diagnostic, and later it gives the answer also. Otherwise, with the help of a teacher or learned person, once you recognize the problem, diagnose it, you have to go to the guardian meditation, like concentration.
are some of the long-term benefits of meditation, and are they related to how long you meditate each day?
Please repeat the early part, I didn't get you.
What are some of the long-term benefits of meditation, and are those long-term benefits correlated with the amount of time you spend meditating?
You can put it this way. Meditation give answer one thing as a remedial, curing, and long-term is preventive. Prevention is better than cure. And convincing part or dramatic part is the cure, the healing side. And if that is the case, you have to understand some of your problems will be automatically solving, and then only you develop the confidence on the meditation. And under such circumstances only you will go for a long-term meditation expecting the preventive kind. So there is a huge complaint about the American Buddhism. American meditation is highly geared on cure, pure healing. They never think about prevention. So therefore it will take 2-3 generations for the Americans to understand the preventive part, because they are always using the mindfulness inside everything on the cure, on the healing side. So Buddhism has become yet another healing method. So most of the traditional Theravada masters are little worried about this. They think that never these kind of people will go to the preventive kind. They will be just thinking about the healing, curing kind of thing. But from the Asiatic point of view, that accept as a byproduct of meditation, but that is not the final goal. Final goal is the prevention. So these are the two. So early part, according to the discussion so far we have made, you can first and foremost understand the character type. What kind of a person am I? Or you are going to answer the first question, who am I? So it is never answered throughout the civilization of human. And because it is impossible to put into words. If by the time you understand, you have solved the problem. So we are in a long waiting answers to understand who am I. Or yet another way you can say, what is the experience of the present moment? That is also something ineffable. You can't put into practice. But even then, the meditation leads to, meditation is going to give an answer for such a thing. For example, when you are, if you understand the instructions given, and if you know what is to be observed, and that, for example, observing the in-breath, out-breath, and the time you are going to see the discriminative difference between this is in-breath, this is out-breath, it is just like physics. You understand physics, that is, in-breath is cooler, out-breath is warmer, in-breath you have the little rub, out-breath has a longer rub, or little in-breath has a longer one, out-breath has a shorter one, or turbulent is docile and calm in in-breath, but it's agitated and turmoil in out-breath, like characters. They are just physics. These are the short-term results or answers the beginners get. And the one the master says is, don't worry about the prevention. You just try to experience in-breath versus out-breath. And as you go on, you will not only that, you will see the gap in between the in-breath and out-breath also. And when these are observed, at the beginning, you are asked to see the discriminate or intrinsic characteristic, personal characteristics of the in-breath and out-breath. And once that you got, the meditation become a little interested. And because you know each in-breath and out-breath has something to new. But when you keep on observing, it is undergoing an evolution. If you observe the breath for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, sometimes naturally it is calming down. So at the beginning you find a huge difference, ups and downs in the in-breath and out-breath, but if you calm and quiet, lucky enough, fall calm and quiet and into the object, you feel it is slowing down, calming down, becomes subtler and subtler. What happens is, more and more it becomes calm, more and more it becomes face to face with your noting mind, instead of discriminations, the common characters are going to come in. Common characters of in-breath and out-breath. So ultimately what happens is discrimination disappears, only the common characters remains. Our mind is such, untrained mind is such, as and when the discrimination disappears, mind says breath disappears. In-breath and out-breath disappears, so it seeks to fall into sleep. It never efficiently or effectively change into the sphere to see the common characteristic in the in-breath and out-breath. So there you have to have a properly guided instructions and same calibration so that you can keep the object for longer time and see how is at the beginning you see the difference between the in-breath and out-breath. Now you are being trained invariably. What are the differences between in-breath versus in-breath? Time series. Out-breath versus out-breath. And how the functions of the gap in between. And up to a certain level when you go there, the common characteristic become more prominent, individual characteristic disappears, and the time the object becomes very subtle, and all the other senses as if cut off. So you are just like a concentration patient going deep into the breath. But you complain there is no breath. And there you won't feel the touching point also, but you are dead sure mindfulness is there. Concentration is there. Kind of experience you are going to get is not in books. You yourself will come to know, and ultimately come to the moment you're going to appreciate such a thing. In the Western world they call it a whole body experience or inner peace. Internally you go into one layer of yourself. It's everything, seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, everything represented by single one experience, just being, and it's a huge volume of space within yourself. So when you come up to that level, you find no tension can exist under such circumstances, no frustration, no disappointments. Mind is neutral, fully neutral. I mean, there is nothing to remember. It is gone to the failure datum line. But if you are untrained, you feel alienated. You feel cornered. You feel bored. You feel monotonous. Because everything appears the common character. So when that happens, itself is the first hurdle, first challenge for the yogi. Are you ready to go into the deep layers of the consciousness? So that is itself indicate whether you have good enough virtues, good enough moral responsibilities and mental health. Only for people, those who have the moral responsibilities, I mean there's virtues and a balanced health, even then with good instruction, they will be qualified to take the next lesson, go into the deep layers, and that is quite a challenge. Any skillfulness, any knowledge, any academic achievements will not be helpful or valid for their own word. Their own word, your then and their application, your vigilance and your appropriate technology is the only matter going to solve. But even then you are far away from your final goal. So likewise when you keep on, you understand our senses, yes, but though it is keeping us amused throughout, it is only opening very little range. A huge range is there, so just like the light, the vibgyor, the violet, indigo, like that, but beyond that huge range is there, but our eyes can't see. So therefore we only talk about only what is visible. But beyond that, X-rays and ultraviolet, definitely we are put into use, but we can't use. So if you wish to go beyond the visible range, you have to say tata, bye-bye to the senses. That itself is a challenge. Because our physical world, materialistic world, even not achieved to these senses also. They keep on pleasure-seeking game, going on the sense pleasure. I mean, it is necessary, basic necessary for our life. But you have to understand it's a huge limitation. So if you wish to go beyond to the other consciousness unrelated to the senses, only human can do. But to prepare people has to do. So they have to be much instructed, virtuous, mentally balanced, and we go up to that level. What happens is you become dumb-bound. You can't cope up with other people because they know only this physical world. They know only the grammar of this this thing. But beyond the senses level, the language is becoming insufficient. So that is the exploration the Buddha invites us to. Though we have the potential, if we are not really going to that, it will never come by. So when you go there only, your consciousness becomes very flat and down to the humanity, universal consciousness, and there you find very least amount of friction you have. Path is least frictional path. Communication becomes very straightforward, and you can understand others' minds also why people are behaving like this. Because of the sense impingements, they are being manipulated, and if they are not training, this is the only way they know. But you will be better off, you are knowing the deeper layer, and still better chances for you to go deep and deep layers. When you go to the deep layers, you can understand why these virtuous people are keeping themselves isolated, pure, and to mind their own business rather than exploiting this sense pleasure. And your potential also increasing. That does not indicate that you are antagonizing the sense pleasure. You are going against. You know it's limits. Within that you can use it. But not the whole life, but not the whole day on that. Instead you take time for practicing and go into the deeper layer. These are the one I would say the long-term results. The very first thing is you understand limitations in this sense pleasure. It is necessary, but we must not ready to spend whole our life, whole our day only for the sense pleasure. That is the challenge in the spiritual ground, and not through this kind of intellectual analysis, you know the disadvantages of the sense pleasure. That is very common in the society. They have their own due disadvantages. So therefore, even people within the sense pleasure also seeking ways and means to get rid of this frustration, get rid of this tension, get rid of this environmental pollution, get rid of this fighting, wars and kind of thing. No way. But when you go down there, you find you are living away from this kind of a rat race, and you can be. But one can ask a question. By your understanding of deep layers, can we answer the question of the world war? First World War, Second World War, Third World War. Or the general disparity of the economy. Or the environmental pollution. The Nehru, one of the president of the India, he says, I doubt whether deep Buddhism is applicable to the whole humanity at large. But the only thing I can say is if you are practicing, results are there. That is happening in the individual basis. But if the majority are practicing, generally the vibration become good. If the majority are forgetting about the spirituality and only chasing behind the sense pleasure, so whatever the world conferences or anything won't give an answer. So when you take this principle into your heart, individually, different perspective. And if you want to get a whole group into the uniform state, that is impossible. That heterogeneity is there. So you have to try your best and keep up yourself, not to create troubles to others, not to create troubles to your future. Be responsible to the society you live, and it is not due to the law, it's a natural law. And when you are practicing, you see, we have no physical misdeeds. We have no verbal misdeeds. Only we are talking about the mental misdeeds like thinking and bad emotions kind of thing. But that is not related to the virtues. Virtues are related to the physical and mental. Even if you sit silently 1 hour, that much of purity is there. You never commit any physical misdeeds, any verbal misdeeds. That is why the mental deeds have become more prominent. Let them happen. Ultimately that also will be sorted out if you are following the, the correct practice. So short-term and long-term benefits cover the whole universe, cover the whole of your questions. And but even then you can't sell that idea in the common open market. There will be very little number of buyers because many go in search of sense pleasure, the pleasure-seeking game. And but even then you can't completely destroy these ideas, spiritual ideas. They are always thriving among small proportion of people, and they keep on practicing. They are not much worried about all the sense pleasures and all the unjust environmental pollution. They know this is to happen. There's nothing special because of the cause and effect relationship. But still you escape. Your way out is completely open if you know the way. Yes, if there are no questions as such, we can go for the next session of walking meditation. Yes.
If we have fear and unknown, and we see things as they are, why do we fear of day-to-day stuff like economy and world days and all, around the world, people over wars because of fear, coping. So how, as Buddhists, conquer fear?
There is no Buddhist way of conquering fear. Fear is universal thing. Conquering has only one way. That way you can say Buddhist or whatever may be. But only the you have to understand the direct effect and the perverse effect. Vanchanika Dhamma and other, the love, desire, this happen direct. Its a perverted form is the fear, the hatred. We have one attraction to the desired things. That is the hook to the samsara, hook to the perpetual living, birth and rebirth. But it is not working directly, sometimes it works in the perverted way. I love him, but instead he comes, I hate him because he is destroying my first desire. But the second replacement of the hatred is because it prevents my having the first option. So that is where the hatred comes. So hatred often works in a perverted way. In the Western psychology, they say the whole Western mental situation is reduced only to one aspect, the fear. Or we can say the hatred. So therefore hatred is, as far as you have the desire, hatred is the shade of the desire. So these two are there. But people in the common sense understand hate is completely one extreme and the love is the other extreme. They don't know they are the double action of the same person. And you won't believe unless you test it yourself and see. So therefore there is no hate without the love. There is no love without hate. It's the two sides of the same coin. So as far as we have a kind of a desire, kind of a liking, kind of a thing to acclaim, so you can't avoid the shade of it, that is the fear is there. So therefore when the economy goes upset, or when the Katrina comes, or whatever happens, the fear happens because we have our likings and disliking, our dear and near ones, which is not under control, therefore we don't know what is going to happen. So therefore if you take the fear as the shade of love or desire or lust. Analytically you can draw the answer, theoretically, and you will be answered. The question of fear cannot be answered as far as the desire is there. Even if you have a desire to get rid of fear, that itself is perversion, you will end up with fear. They have written some books, 7 destructive emotions. And one thing is about the hatred. And in Turman, he is telling, he's in the preface, he says, never I hate my hate in future. So that is the worst case. We are hating our hate. So it is inflagration. So you have to understand, hate comes through your desire, through your love. The day you accept your hate, that loses its grounds. It's very difficult. That is why the Buddha attribute the dukkha, the suffering or unsatisfactoriness is the common character. The only cause, one single cause he gives, the desire, tanha. But we know our day-to-day life is always not hooked with tanha. So at least 50% due to the hatred. But hatred is just the shade of tanha. Too extreme. So you are not going to deal with, you are not going to love, hate. Instead you have to understand these are representing each other. You have to find a middle way. Please try to understand, please try to see whenever the hatred happens, how such a intense hate happened, there should have a close-by factor that you missed the chance. You lost it. That is why the hatred comes, not otherwise.
Will the fear also come from uncertainty, which is an ignorance as well, not only from the hatred? Even as a 1-year-old.
Hatred is the main cause, different shades. Fear is one shade. Uncertainty is yet another. It has many nuances, many shades.
Just like a child, he doesn't have hatred, but he has a fear of, uncertainty, like the child is not...
That is one thing projected by, that is, we think like that. We are the eldest people putting the fear into the children. They come out with the open sheet. We are the people writing the perception and everything. Their behavior, we think, representing uncertainty. We think it is representing fear. But the child has never told you that I am in fear or uncertainty. We read their behavior according to our perception. So that is why we are the people painting the picture on the screen of the child's consciousness.
So the fear always derived from hatred or the ignorance?
The fear is a son or daughter of the hatred. Hatred is always the shadow of the desire. Tanha, raga, dosa. Raga means a desire, dosa means hatred. They are interplaying each other. Dosa is a perverted form. It can have a perverted form also. But the raga is very direct and very straightforward. But whenever the dosa happens or the fear happens, there are many perversions, many crooked forms. So therefore, very difficult. That is why it attributes the fear is the main cause for the mental illness. All the mental illnesses you can boil down to the fear, hatred. And mostly they say fear. I don't know whether I answered your question, that if you can rephrase the question, it will be better with the information that I have given.
I still is not clear about it. I thought fear was the cause of all the problems. And so according to what I understood was fear is because of
Desire.
desire.
Is the shadow of the desire. It has many nuances, many perverted forms. So therefore, first place, the Buddha says, keep the desire as the first cause. And while you are observing, you can understand whenever you are prevented to get your desired thing, the hatred come and appear like a friend of you, helping you to get the best thing. But ultimately it works as a hatred. When I was young, about 28, 26, 27 like, my father passed away and I was so upset and crying like anything, because I attended to him. I never thought that he is going to pass away, and I lost everything, no desire. I thought, what is this all? If this is the case, this is the end. And one of my friend of mine told, there's one particular hermit, he is not a full-fledged monk, but he has come to the village and he is giving a discussions, open discussions. It's good, why don't we go there? So each Sunday, after the Vandana, we used to talk. So I never raised question, I just listened because my mind was full upset. One day, he told me, he was not aware about my case. People cry at the funerals up to the amount that he is going to lose his own thing, that is why he is crying. I feel so ashamed. Because I was crying thinking my love to the Father is so genuine. That's why I can't control and cry. And he told that you have lost something, it's your Father's loss, that is why you are crying with your own, taking your own loss. It is not directly the loss of the Father, how much you are losing by this thing, that is why you are crying. So it was like a challenge. But even then I never questioned the person. I went on thinking, am I so selfish to cry because that I am going to lose my kind of thing? And after contemplating, that I feel so ashamed. You cry because that you are losing not the Father, your own interest, your own liking. And by lack of becoming, Father passed away, that you are the one to lose. That is why you are crying. But you are not crying for death of each and every ant or every bird. No, because they are not a gain for you. Even they lie, never mind. They don't care. But when you die, when a close by person dies and he is having the secret of your life, everything finished. So this was a very striking thing in that now about 30 years ago. And these are like mirrors. When you observe yourself, you can see the image. But if mirror is direct and represents the exact, then you can see. But most of the mirrors are perverted. They are showing you enlarged. Sometimes close, the driver's mirror or the shaving mirrors. So all the mirrors are not really representing the proportion. So we have to have our own mirror. Our own mirror is the mindfulness. Mindfulness showing in a proportionate way. So you can't fight, you can't be humiliated. When the mindfulness shows that you are a kind of a thinking type, you are a hatred type, you are a kind of a desire, you are a kind of a person with little irritation with sounds, irritation with pains. It's a reality. If someone going to say you are a kind of that you will say that it is none of your business, it is my human right, you can't find fault with me, why you are poking fingers into my psychology life? But when the mindfulness comes, it's very patiently show you, and repeatedly you can put into experiment and see how it is.
As lay people, we live in a competitive world, and to get through with your day-to-day activities and all that, you have to compete, and that without effort, and the desire comes in. Now find a balance?
So balance is such a thing, it is circumstantial. So balance is not an everlasting thing. It's you have to assimilate then and there. And that assimilation is not a science. It's an art. So therefore, under heavily challenged and competitive atmosphere, it is not the best time to start learning the art of seeking challenge, seeking the balance. So you have to get that artificial situation where no much of visions, no much of sounds, and there you just try to keep the one object, neutral object, in view with, and try to see the balance. For example, when you are learning how to learn the bicycle, you must not go to a busy, dangerous streets. You must go to a silent place and just try to handle it and how to climb and get the momentum. And even then, not supposed to go to a busy streets, because that you are not sure with your own gadget. So likewise, to gain the balance at the beginning, you have to have artificial situation. Under such circumstances, you develop your basic mental factors like mindfulness, the concentration, the faith, the wisdom, energy, concentration. So out of these factors, 5 factors, it has been represented as 5 fingers. If this is the wisdom, the opposite one is the faith. If this is the energy, opposite to it you have the concentration. In between the mindfulness, and the mindfulness is highest, the biggest, and the taking the upper hand. So when you are developing, wisdom never comes with balance with the faith. Sometimes you are very wise and very smart. This is, what is the use of this faith? It is just the old people's job. We are not that. We can justify anything by the wisdom, like you suppress the faith and try to be over smart. But ultimately you are the loser. Sometimes you feel that when the faith happens, it represents it get the job of the wisdom also done. You are attracted to the more wise people and kind of thing. You see that wisdom is not necessary. Faith is enough. Likewise, they are fighting each other. And when the energy comes too much, agitated mind and thinking, doubting, and all the kind of thing, you are overshooting the target. And when the concentration becomes too much, no energy, sleepiness happens. You fall short of the target. No balance. Only the mindfulness is being up there, it is just say, now your concentration is high, faith is low. Energy is too much, concentration is sick. Sometimes you say, now faith is very good. So at the beginning you map it out. Once you know the balance between the wisdom and the faith, energy and the concentration, then only you become qualified to see day-to-day activities, how can you balance it. Why I can't be with him and why I am happy with her. All these things not due to their intrinsic characters, it is due to your faculties. To have a balance, you have to develop the faculties in the first place. So what you do is at the beginning, let them grow their own way. It is this own way, this is this own. Ultimately only you understand, everything come up to a one-pointedness, all the faculties. Then it's like not the speed, but the acceleration. Speed, one quality, acceleration is yet another one. So likewise, once you develop the qualities, then you can get the harmonizing there. When that happens, you understand. You never rush into a problem. You just try to understand what is happening. You are waiting to see all the variables, and then the balance is very easy to understand. If you are rushing without understanding all the variables related, you are rushing to decision but not lasting. So that is what in the world today. World is run by youngsters. They make policies. This is what we have to do. All people are outdated. But in the Asiatic country it says that older people have the wisdom, so just wait and follow the older people. So both the examples are there, you can see the outcome. So mindfulness, I will represent mindfulness as meditation. I say mindfulness is meditation. But the meditation, in the mindfulness, what you do is first give the combination, different combination on the theoretical basis. But your own direct experience. Ultimately you will understand, Evenly suspended attention with the suspended decision is the most wise thing at the beginning. You accumulate as much as variables and the information, don't rush to a decision. Once you decided, you are committed. If you are deriving a decision without accumulating enough variables, that indicates your immaturity. You are bound to end up with a calamity or disappointment. So therefore, more and more you go there, you will be more observant, acquiring more variables necessary, and don't rush yourself. So that is how the meditation makes equilibrium between the extremes. In meditation jargon we say that finding the indifference, upekkha, instead of vicissitudes of the life, vicissitudes of the world, vicissitudes of the samsara, you try to assimilate what is the balance. In mathematics, even our teacher says, when you going to solve a sum, first and foremost you have to do is understand the sum, understand the question carefully. And once understood, it is solved. You know what I mean? In the arithmetic sum, if you know this is the sum, that means you know the answer. Then you are systematically writing with the formulas for that examiner to understand that you understood. But your understanding happens immediately with the understanding of the question. That is the first and foremost theory Einstein put forward. He says, if you know the question, that is the answer. If you do not know the question, how much theorems, how much formulas you are going to write, what is the use? No use. You know which theory and which formula to use once you have to understand the question. But we now, in a rat race, we never wait to see what is happening. We want some one-upmanship. Before he can come, I have to go there, and ultimately what happens is all appointments end up with disappointments. You just take a little time. I can tell you a story, but I may fail in translating into English, so one may help me. I will put it in Sinhala first.
Yeah, you can say in Sinhala. Most of the people can understand.
Yeah. ගමක හිටියලු සියදොරිස් කියලා මිනිස්සෙක්. ඒ සියදොරිස් මේ ගමේ මිනිස්සෙක් මිනිහට ඒ කාලේ හම්බෙලා කොහමද ෆිනෑන්ස් කම්පැනි එකකින් කියලා තියෙනවා 3 දෙනෙක් අතන් ගිරෝ බයිසිකලයක් ගන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. ඉතින් මිනිස්සයා විට්නස්ලා දෙන්නේ හොයන කොහොමද කියලා බයිසිකලයක් ගත්තලු. වයස මිනිහා වයසයි දැන්. පුදුම ආසයිලු බයිසිකලේ පදින්න. හැබැයි නගින්න බැරිලු කවුරු හරි ඕනලු පිටිපස්සෙන් ඉන්න බයිසිකල අල්ලගෙන ඉන්න. ඉතින් කවුරුත් ගෙදර නැති නිසා මිනිස්සයා කවුරු හරි එනකම් පාරයින් ඉන්නවලු බයිසිකලක තියාගෙන කවුරු හරි හව මාසින පොඩ බයිසිකල පොඩ අල්ලගෙන මට නැගලා යන්න ඕනේ කියලා. ඉතින් යනකොට වෙගුලනවලු මේ බයිසිකලේ බැලන්ස් කරගන්න බෑ. ඉතින් මිනිස්සගේ වැඩේම කොහෙ ගියත් බයිසිකල තල්ලු කරගෙන යන්නේ. හැබැයි නැගලා යන්න බෑ. කවුරු එනකන් ඉන්නවා මේ බයිසිකල් එක බැලන්ස් කරන්න. ඉතින් ඔහොම ඉඳද්දී මේ හදිස්සිය දවසක සීතුස්ගේ නෝනට විලිරු දාවා. ඊට කතාකලු මිනිස්සු ගිහිල්ලා ඉන්න බම්බන ගහනවා වරින් කියලා. මිනිහා ජහඩ පහට ගියලු බයිසිකල යනවා. දැන් බයිසිකල යන දුවනවලු පාරේ. අඳුන යාළු කළු සීතුසයා කොහෙද යන්නේ කොළු. මම කතා කරන වෙලාව නැහැ හදිස්සියක් කියලා. ඒ මනුස්සයා පාරෙන් එහා පැත්තෙන් සීතුස් මේ පාරේ යනවා. ඒගොල්ලෝ මොකද මාසිය අතර හදිස්සි. අපිට දැන් කිව්වනේ හදිස්සි මං ගමනක් යනවා කියලා. ඊට පස්සේ කළු මිනිස්සුගේ නැගලා බලයන් කොහෙනම් කිව්වා. පුත ඕකනේ තේරෙන්නේ නැත්නම් ඕකේ නගින්න ගියා නම් වෙලා ගියා කියලා තේරෙන්නේ නැද්ද? ඇයි නගින්න ගියා වෙලා යනවා කියලා තේරෙන්නේ නැද්ද කියලා. ඒකේ අරගෙන තල්ලු කරගෙන දුවන. එක්ක ගෙදර තියලා බලන්න බයිසිකල් ඒක රෝඩ් එලිමන්ට යන්න පුළුවන්. අපි සම්පූර්ණ මේ මෙටීරියලිස්ටික් ජීවිතෙත් ඔච්චර තමයි. බයිසිකල් නගින්න වෙලා ගන්න නැහැ අපි. අරගෙන දුවනවා. ඉතින් මොකක් කරේ එකක් ඉගෙන ගන්න හරියට. කිව්වද ගතේ. ඔව් මම දැන් ඔක්කොමලට තේරෙනවද කියලා සිංහලට? ඈ? I can't put that such a way into the English language. I have a huge storage of stories to explain each and every moment. That is what we have to put our life into a joke. Otherwise, we become so serious about meditation and the day-to-day problems. But it's just a joke. It is a day-to-day jokes. Mindfulness also the same. Mindfulness you can't practice in a old age. When you become sick, when you are at the deathbed, it's too late. So beforehand you have to have already prepared mindfulness, and then it is really answering your questions. But even now in the time of our life, we say now we have no time to develop mindfulness, but mindfulness we know is only the answer. So, and if you are taking alone and running with it without taking time, that is amount to negligence. So you have to understand, and there is no scheduled time for the mindfulness to practice in our sansaric way. You have to go against the grain and practice. Mindfulness is never come with our daily timetable, not naturally. So that's why you have to listen to the Buddha and properly get the instructions. And at the beginning it's an utter failure like, because it is going against the grain. But when you go there after a certain amount of mindfulness, there are a huge amount of our society, they are already mindful, but they are not showing. To have the relationship with them, best thing is you have to develop mindfulness. Otherwise you see only these listless people. The mindful people, they are living very happily, they are simple living, high thinking. They never come to these kind of problems. So if you wish to have a relationship, a link with, you have to invest time on mindfulness. Ultimately you come to a certain level. Each and every society have their due proportion of people with mindfulness. Never you believe, even in this sensuous world, in this materialistic world, the deep philosophical people, they are completely away from the main current, do mindfulness. Everything in mindfulness. So there you find you are not lost. Unless otherwise you come up to this calibration, difficult to believe the amount of people in our vicinity with mindfulness. Because our vibration is always towards this varietal entertainment and this the go-go show, dramatic thing. So then you are cut off. You have to slow down. And then only, just like Theodore is how to learn to bike, you have to little slow down.
What do you mean when you say vibration?
Good vibes. It's an American term, I don't know. When I was in Burma, yes?
Can you please explain, if possible, I don't know if time is okay, the mindfulness, how it benefits the pain, if you are in pain, at the body pain or at the end of your life, when you are dying, what kind of benefit, and whether it's in samadhi or whether it's just a simple concentration?
It appear like a contradiction in the question, but I will give a related one event. I think it will give a short answer. There was one of my friends, I don't know whether you have heard about Mr. Godwin Samaratna. He was very helpful. He's a kind of a character. So he used to go to the cancer hospital together with the monk. He was Australian. Both of them are going once a week and just talk with the patient. They are already destined 2 weeks, 3 weeks time. They have been given the time mark, and they are in a desperate situation. No friends, no family members. They are in the hospitals or government fashion, and they are in a utter mess. So these two are going there just counseling, just talking with. And Godwin is a kind of a person. He has tried to sell his idea about mindfulness with these terminal patients. It's an utter failure. No one is willing to take mindfulness as something to be tested, something to be put into practice under such a situation. So he says, but whether you be mindful or not, this suffering is the same. So why don't you do it mindfully? But even then he never gave it up. One day there had been one Tamil lady, and the so bad smell and the very fast growing cancer. I don't know where it is. And she was desperately waiting for a few weeks to happen, and death is uncertain. And she never expected Buddhist people to come and talk with her. But Godwin has no such discrimination. He has gone and talked. And she told, I am sorry, I can't listen to you. You will not talk to me because I am a Hindu. Godwin has told, I am not talking to talk about the Buddhism. And I came with my money, with the bus fare. I just wish to talk with you. That's all. Ah, wonderful. And how is? And then she has asked how. He says, don't talk about the pain. Don't talk about the cancer because it is so negative. It's very difficult. And what about talking about something else? And then after it, Godin has given some cock and bull stories and again come to the pain. And she says desperately, whenever you come to the subject of this thing, it's very difficult. Then Godin has asked, what about looking at your pain as if someone else? Just like a doctor going to get a clinical distance from the patient. And whether you like it or not, pain is there. What about getting just a distance from me? What is this? He says that it is a possibility. Only the human mind can do it. Even it's painful, your own gangrene, it's burning and decaying and painful. Cancer is growing, you just as if someone else. She has told that is not a case, that is not such a challenge to practice under such circumstances. But anyway, next week also paid a visit, and she has told that I never thought it is possible. With you being a completely stranger and talking with this thing, I put an idea, I feel that I don't know whether I am correct. It's so throbbing and painful, I can just observe as if someone else. And but still the hatred is there. And to get rid of idea, the malice is completely there. But I can see it. I don't know any technical value of it, but possible. Then God says, at the beginning you don't see the effective, cumulative effect. So why don't you keep on observing? While you are observing, you can see, usually you can't bear the pain because of the hate. Pain is pain. And therefore the day you see through the hate, and the pain is bearable. Only the thing is perversion of the hate. Whenever the pain happens, you justify, why should I? Why it is come to me? I have done so and so things, but still the pain coming, so try to get rid of. So much so, your mind is never meet the pain, it has to go through the veil of hate. So if you observe the pain as pain, ultimately where the hatred will be disappeared, that day you can really bear it up. And the pain is not much of a problem. And next week when you go there, she was waiting till the Godhead comes, it seems. She has told the ones who gave the explanation, the whole last week, I was observing it, and I am sure I am very close to the death, but anyway, I never experienced such a thing, even when I have a pleasurable feeling. Leave aside the painful feeling. And she was talking in such a positive thing, but the next week he goes there, she has gone. So Godin told, this is the first and foremost experience I had. I never expected, because we have to expect something from the Buddhist. But she was a Hinduistic old lady, it's possible. So the Buddha says, of course monks, pain is a dart, strike into your flesh. The first dart, bearable. The second dart, if it is happening in the same point, is unbearable. The second dart is the hate. If you can get rid of the hate, the pain is pleasurable. Pain is bearable. And in that talk, I can't do away with this example. All the females, there's one email in my computer also, says, this it goes. The pain, they have a measurement called DEL, D-E-L. And after 47, death. After the 44 is detriment. Below 47 you can do. And it says that beyond, whenever the pain comes and beyond 47, unprepared mind died. But you see, at the parduration and the labor pain got up to 55. It is like breaking of 20 bones at a time. But even then, they tolerate it. Because for the good cause. They never complain about that. But when the mosquito bite happens, so much of fear, so much of about the malaria and so much of disease, dengue and all the kind of things, that the mosquito, you can't bear it up. But it's such a heavy labor pain, it says even the male can't do it. Male are very are incompetent. They can't do it because they are so hectic. Only female can do it. So therefore you are invalid to ask that question. But if you direct the perspective, give the perspective, pain by itself is not the problem. The pain, the dressing we give it the pain. The coloration we give, it hurting our psychology, hurting ourselves, it hurt our self-image. That is why we can't bear it up. If it is something heroic, if it is something boosting, anything we can undergo.
And we have sometimes fabricated, we don't know.
That is what I am calling dressing. Dressing and fabrication and formations, that is what we make ourselves weak. Once you put up your immunity value and something heroic like or motherly like, then pain is the real justification for a mother. You become a mother because so much of pain you underwent. Unexplainable, and the child do not know. The child will understand if he is a girl when she is giving birth to something. And that is how it happens. So therefore, when you give it a correct perspective, pain is the only challenge in our life. That's why Buddha says, after the Kayanupassana, the Vedananupassana. When you dwell on the contemplation on the body, once you become mature, when you become qualified only, you go to the second stage, dwell on contemplation on pain. And once you there, and there's I read one magazine, one paper, one book known as The Mind. It's a BBC program, and ultimately he has written a book by Richard Stark. They found one girl, Muslim girl, she can't feel the pain. The mental factor called pain is no more in her consciousness. And it says she is playing and she is very adamant with you. Whatever the punishment going to give, no valid. You can't punish her because she has no pain. And she has fallen down from the swing and the leg has completely this thing and broken and put a bandage and kind of still she can't feel. So next day also she go to on the swing and photo is with that. And when the teeth are coming, she is chewing itself. They all get damaged. She can't feel it. So therefore pain is such a beneficial thing in our life to put it down in the proper shape. You will feel it when you become paralyzed. When one part becomes no pain, you feel so sorry. Because pain is the only indicator for your life. Paralyzed means that you won't feel this side. You start crying. When the pain is coming, you ask how to alleviate it. When the pain is not there, you cry. Because without pain, no life.
Even sensation is a part of pain.
It is a mental, that's a manasika, it is called dukkha domanasa. Domanasa, mental pain, mental agony. It is due to our ego. In our egocentric idea, we paint it, we decorate in different way, then we can't do it. But if you remove that part, second art, the second fabrication part, the pain is not much of a problem. I mean theoretically, but you have to put the threshold value, toleration, slowly up. That is to mean that as the doctors get the clinical distance, you have to get the distance on the pain. And that is the foremost thing in the mentality. Non-materialist sphere, first and foremost object of meditation is the pain. Not the pain, the feeling. Painful feeling, pleasurable feeling, and ultimately the blessing, the strange thing, or the treasure land is no pain, no feeling, no pleasure feeling. We are blind to it now. When the day you understand, you find most of the time we are in no pain, no pleasure. If you do not know, it's a pain. If you know it, it's a pleasure. The day you understand no pain, no pleasure, you find being a human, 99% we are in no pain, no pleasure. But due to the ignorance, we throw it away, telling it is no go, no events, no dramatic. But the Nibbana, the equanimity, the developed mind is only take the refuge of no pain, no pleasure. So that is why the first question when he says that walking meditation give a number of sensations. Sitting meditation give less and less sensation, feelings. So mind becomes lethargic or activated over. So when you go there, it goes to very deep layers of no pain, no pleasure. Without agitation, be prepared. Then you go to the deep secrets in the consciousness. Okay, now we have taken almost 1 hour and 45 minutes. But I would say all the questions are theoretical, very rarely practical questions. Second day, third day time only we will go into our own business. But anyway, these things are necessary to have kind of a theoretical understanding. And so hoping that there are no more questions, we'll take time for the next event, that is walking meditation. Just 3 to 4 walking meditation. And 4 o'clock we will be meeting here for another sitting session. Okay, thank you very much for taking part. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.